My family withdrew me from college mid-semester on Christmas, saying I couldn't return until I apologized to their perfect golden girl sister for getting better grades. So I said nothing, dropped out permanently, and started a $100 million tech company while she's still unemployed living off them. Hello lovelies. If you haven't yet, subscribe and say hi in the comments. We'd love to know where you're watching from. Now let's get back into the story. I should have known something was wrong when Mama kept refilling my glass at Christmas dinner. She never let me have more than one glass of wine. Drink up, baby, she'd said, her smile not reaching her eyes. The turkey sat cold on my plate as I noticed Daddy checking his watch, my sister Kennedy smirking into her phone, and my brother Martin avoiding my gaze entirely. We need to talk about your situation, Daddy finally said, pushing his plate away. My stomach dropped. Situation? I just finished my junior year fall semester with a 4.0 GPA in computer science. Dean's List. The scholarship committee had even hinted at a research assistant position for spring. Your sister's struggling, Mama interjected, reaching across to squeeze Kennedy's hand. My 25-year-old sister who'd dropped out of community college twice and was currently finding herself in our parents' basement. It's affecting her self-esteem seeing you succeeding like this. The word succeeding came out like an accusation. I looked at Kennedy, waiting for her to defend me, to tell them this was ridiculous. Instead, she dabbed at dry eyes with a napkin. You're making me look bad, Josie. Do you even care about family? What are you talking about? I'm just doing my work. You're showing off, Martin cut in, finally looking at me. My older brother, the family mediator, the one who used to help me with homework. Posting your grades, talking about your internship offers. It's disrespectful. I felt the room tilting, like I'd stepped into some alternate dimension where academic achievement was a crime against your own blood. We've made a decision, Daddy announced, pulling an envelope from his jacket pocket. His voice had that finality I remembered from childhood, the tone that meant arguing was pointless. But I was 20 years old now, not 10. I had rights. Didn't I? You're not going back to campus for spring semester. The words hung in the air like smoke. I couldn't breathe, couldn't process. My mind immediately jumped to logistics. My housing deposit, my meal plan, the research position, my scholarship requirements. You need to stay home and work on being more humble, more family-oriented. You can't just, I'm an adult. I have a scholarship. I have responsibilities. My voice cracked, betraying the panic rising in my chest. Mama shook her head slowly, that disappointed look I'd seen 1,000 times. Usually directed at Kennedy. Now it was aimed at me. We can absolutely do this. Who do you think co-signed your student loans? Who do you think is listed as your emergency contact? We called the university yesterday. They were very understanding about the family emergency requiring your immediate withdrawal. The room spun. What family emergency? There is no emergency. The emergency, Kennedy said, leaning forward with theatrical sadness, is that you're tearing this family apart. You think you're better than us. You've changed, Josie. You're not the sweet girl we raised. I wanted to scream. The sweet girl they raised had been quiet, had made herself smaller so Kennedy could shine. Had pretended not to notice when my debate team trophy disappeared from the living room shelf, but Kennedy's participation ribbons from cheerleading camp got framed. Had smiled through family gatherings where every conversation somehow circled back to Kennedy's potential. Here's what needs to happen, Daddy continued, sliding the envelope toward me. Inside were printed forms, official withdrawal paperwork, already filled out with my forged signature. My hands trembled, holding evidence of their premeditated betrayal. They'd planned this. Probably for weeks. While I'd been studying for finals, they'd been plotting to destroy my future. You'll apologize to Kennedy. A real, genuine apology for making her feel inferior. You'll spend spring semester here working at your uncle's restaurant like Kennedy does. You'll learn some humility, some appreciation for family. Then maybe if you've shown real growth, we'll consider letting you return in the fall. Maybe community college first to ease back in. Community college. After maintaining a 4.0 at a competitive university. After 3 years of proving myself, of scholarships and academic honors and research opportunities. They wanted me to start over, to erase everything I'd built because it made my perpetually unemployed sister uncomfortable. And if I refuse? The words came out stronger than I felt. Martin's eyes widened in warning, but I was beyond caring. Something had crystallized in that moment. A clarity born of pure survival instinct. Mama's face hardened. Then you can figure out how to pay for school yourself. We'll withdraw our financial support entirely. You'll lose your housing, your meal plan. That scholarship of yours requires full-time enrollment. You'll lose everything. I looked at each of them. These people who were supposed to protect me, nurture me, celebrate my victories. Daddy wouldn't meet my eyes. Martin stared at his hands. Kennedy smiled, victorious. Mama looked righteous, convinced she was saving her family. They'd weaponized love, turned achievement into betrayal. The silence stretched between us like a canyon. They expected tears, apologies, desperate bargaining. I'd given them those things before. Every time Kennedy threw a tantrum about some perceived slight, every time my accomplishments got minimized to manage her feelings. I'd apologized for winning the science fair when she didn't make the cheerleading squad. I'd apologized for getting into university when she got rejected. I'd spent 20 years apologizing for existing too loudly in Kennedy's shadow. Not this time. Josie, say something, Martin urged, his voice carrying a hint of the brother I used to know. Just apologize. Make this right. It's not that hard. I stood slowly, carefully, like my bones were made of glass. My chair scraped against the hardwood floor. A sound I'll never forget, sharp and final. I need to think. My voice sounded strange, distant, like it belonged to someone else. Someone stronger. There's nothing to think about, Kennedy snapped, her mask slipping for just a moment, revealing something ugly underneath. Just admit you've been a selfish bitch and we can move on. God, why do you always have to make everything so dramatic? Mama didn't correct her language. She never did when Kennedy spoke to me that way. Watch your mouth, Kennedy, Daddy said half-heartedly, but his eyes stayed on me. Josie, your sister deserves an apology. You've made her feel worthless with your constant achievements. Surely you can see how your actions have affected her mental health. My actions. My achievements were actions against my sister. I felt something break inside me, but it wasn't weakness breaking. It was chains. 20 years of chains snapping one by one. That night, I lay in my childhood bedroom, staring at the glow-in-the-dark stars I'd stuck to the ceiling in 8th grade. My phone buzzed constantly. Text from Martin telling me to just do it. From Mama reminding me they only wanted what was best for the family. From Kennedy demanding I stop being stubborn. Nothing from Daddy. He'd said his piece and expected compliance. I opened my laptop and started making lists. Not apologies. Calculations. I had $3,847 in my checking account from my part-time campus library job and summer internship. My scholarship covered tuition and housing, but that was gone now. My student loans, co-signed by my parents, totaled $31,000. The withdrawal they'd filed would trigger default proceedings unless I took over payments I couldn't afford. My phone lit up with a notification. An email from Professor Leonardo, my computer science mentor. Josie, just heard from administration about your withdrawal. Please call me immediately. This doesn't make sense given your performance and upcoming research position. Whatever's happening, we can figure it out together. I stared at that message for 20 minutes, tears finally coming. Not tears of weakness, but of grief. I was grieving the family I'd thought I had, the one that existed in my imagination where parents celebrated all their children, where siblings lifted each other up. That family had never existed. I'd just been too young, too hopeful, too desperate for their love to see it. At 2:47 a.m., I made my decision. I wouldn't apologize. I wouldn't beg. I wouldn't shrink myself to make Kennedy feel bigger. I would lose everything. My scholarship, my housing, my meal plan, my planned future. But I would keep my dignity. I would keep my self-respect. Christmas morning felt like attending my own funeral. I came downstairs to find Kennedy opening presents with theatrical enthusiasm, Mama and Daddy watching her with indulgent smiles. My gifts sat untouched in the corner, clearly purchased before the intervention, now awkward reminders of the daughter they decided to sacrifice. So, Kennedy asked, not looking up from her new iPad. Ready to apologize and rejoin the family? The casualness of it, like she was asking if I wanted coffee, made my stomach turn. This was a game to her. My entire future was her entertainment. I'm not apologizing. The words came out steady, calm. I'd practiced them in the mirror for an hour, needing to say them without my voice shaking, without giving them anything to use against me. I haven't done anything wrong. The room froze. Mama's coffee mug stopped halfway to her lips. Daddy lowered his newspaper. Martin, who'd been scrolling on his phone, looked up with genuine alarm. Kennedy's smile slowly vanished, replaced by something cold and calculating. Excuse me. Daddy's voice dropped to that dangerous quiet. After everything we discussed yesterday, you're still being stubborn? Still putting your pride above your family? It's not pride, I said, surprised by how clear my mind felt. It's fact. I worked hard. I earned my grades. I didn't do anything to Kennedy except exist and succeed. If that hurts her, that's something she needs to work through, not something I need to apologize for. Kennedy stood abruptly, her chair toppling backward. You sanctimonious bitch. You think you're so much better than me, don't you? You've always thought you were smarter, prettier, more deserving. I never said that, I interrupted, my own anger finally surfacing. You did. You're the one who made this a competition. Get out. Mama's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. I turned to her, hoping for a moment that she meant Kennedy, that maternal instinct had finally kicked in, that she saw how insane this all was. But her eyes were locked on me, burning with a fury I'd never seen directed my way. Get out of my house. If you won't respect this family, if you won't do this one simple thing to help your sister heal, then you're not welcome here. Her hand shook as she pointed toward the door, coffee spilling onto her Christmas pajamas. She didn't notice. Mama, Martin started, but Daddy silenced him with a look. You heard your mother, Josie. Pack your things. You have 1 hour. Daddy's voice was ice. This man who'd taught me to ride a bike, who'd helped me build my first computer from spare parts, who'd cried at my high school graduation. He was gone. In his place was a stranger who'd chosen sides, and I wasn't on the winning team. I looked at Kennedy expecting triumph. Instead, I saw something flicker across her face. Was it guilt? Uncertainty? But then Mama wrapped an arm around her shoulders and Kennedy leaned into the embrace, playing the wounded victim perfectly. I just wanted a sister who loved me, she whispered loud enough for everyone to hear. But all she loves is proving she's better than me. The audacity of it, the sheer shamelessness almost made me laugh. Almost. I walked upstairs without another word. My childhood bedroom looked the same as it had the night before, but everything had changed. I grabbed my duffel bag and started packing. Clothes, toiletries, my laptop, chargers, important documents. I left behind the teddy bear Daddy won me at the state fair, the photo albums Mama made, the yearbooks. I spent that first night in my 15-year-old Honda Civic in a 24-hour diner parking lot, watching college students come and go, laughing and carefree. My phone had 47 missed calls. 33 were from Mama, alternating between, come home and apologize, and you're breaking your father's heart. Martin sent increasingly desperate texts. Just say sorry. It doesn't have to be real. Just say it. Kennedy posted on social media. A tearful selfie captioned, when your sister chooses pride over family. I blocked them all at 3 a.m. The silence that followed was terrifying and liberating in equal measure. When the sun came up, I drove to Professor Leonardo's office hours. She took one look at me, rumpled clothes, eyes red from crying and lack of sleep, clutching my laptop like a lifeline, and locked the door behind me. Tell me everything. And I did. The whole humiliating story spilled out while she listened, her expression growing darker with each detail. Your family is sabotaging you because you're succeeding? Because you're making your sister uncomfortable with your competence. She shook her head in disgust. Josie, that's not family. That's crabs in a barrel. He pulled out her phone and made 3 calls while I sat there numb. First to the dean of students, explaining an emergency situation. Second to the scholarship office, requesting an emergency review. Third to someone she called only Martin. Not my brother, someone else. You have options, she said finally. They're not great options and the road ahead is going to be brutal. But you have options. First, we need to get you housing. Second, we need to secure your scholarship status. Third, we need to figure out your financial aid situation without your parents' cooperation. Professor Leonardo's Martin turned out to be Martin White, a venture capitalist who'd graduated from our program 15 years earlier. He met me at a coffee shop 3 days later, reviewing my portfolio with sharp, assessing eyes. I'd spent those 3 days couch surfing with classmates, showering at the campus gym, working on my projects in the library until security kicked me out at 2 a.m. Your facial recognition algorithm, he said, tapping my laptop screen. This is sophisticated work. And this API you built for streamlining database queries. Josie, do you understand what you have here? I shook my head, exhausted and too beaten down to hope. You have the foundation of a viable tech startup. Multiple viable startups, actually. He leaned back, studying me with an intensity that made me uncomfortable. Professor Leonardo told me your situation. I'm not going to bullshit you. What your family did is unconscionable. But here's what I see. A brilliant developer with nothing to lose and everything to prove. That's dangerous. That's powerful. He slid a business card across the table. I'm going to offer you something and I want you to think carefully before answering. The offer was simple and terrifying. Drop out officially, take his seed funding of $50,000 and spend the next year building a company. He'd provide mentorship, connections, and a small stipend for living expenses. You finish your degree later when you can afford it outright, no parents, no loans, no strings. Or you don't because you're too busy running a successful company. But you don't go back to that toxic situation, and you don't waste years trying to appease people who will never be satisfied. I thought of Kennedy's smirk, Mama's ultimatum, Daddy's cold dismissal, Martin's cowardice. I thought of the alternative, begging, apologizing, diminishing myself only to face the same dynamic forever. I'll do it, I said. I'll build something they can't destroy. The first 6 months were hell in ways my family never could have imagined. I lived in a windowless room in an apartment I shared with 4 other people, sleeping 4 hours a night, coding until my eyes burned, surviving on ramen and black coffee. Martin White introduced me to developers, designers, potential clients. I hired my first employee, a brilliant woman named Destiny who'd been laid off from a major tech company and believed in my vision for what I was calling Spectrum Sync, a revolutionary data analytics platform. My phone rang constantly in the beginning. Mama crying, saying I was killing Daddy with stress, that Kennedy had started therapy because of me, that I was destroying the family. I changed my number. They found the new one. I changed it again. Martin, my brother, showed up at my apartment once. Just come home, he begged. Kennedy said she'd accept your apology now, even though you waited so long. Mama's willing to help you re-enroll for fall semester. At community college? I asked. Where Kennedy can feel better about herself. His silence was answer enough. I'm building something, Martin. Something real. Tell them I'm fine. Tell them I don't need their forgiveness because I didn't sin. He left, shaking his head, convinced I'd ruined my life over stubbornness. By month 9, Spectrum Sync had landed 3 corporate clients. Small contracts but real revenue. By month 11, a major healthcare company wanted to pilot our system. I hired 3 more employees. By month 13, exactly 1 year after that Christmas dinner, we closed a series of funding round of $3.2 million. I was 21 years old, a college dropout and a CEO. Martin White took me to dinner to celebrate, grinning like a proud parent. You know what you've done, right? You've built in 1 year what takes most people a decade. Year 2 brought exponential growth. Spectrum Sync expanded to 43 employees. Revenue hit 8 figures. Tech publications started covering us. The Dropout disrupting data analytics. 21-year-old CEO challenges industry giants. I did interviews, spoke at conferences, tried not to think about the family I'd lost. Most days I succeeded. Then Kennedy found me on Facebook. Her friend request came with a message. Hey sis, saw your article in Tech Magazine. So proud of you. We should catch up. I stared at it for an hour, my finger hovering over decline. Instead, I clicked on her profile. Public, no privacy settings, a gallery of my family's life without me. Kennedy, still living at home, still unemployed, posting daily about her healing journey and her struggles with toxic family members. Photos of Mama and Daddy looking years older, worn down. Martin with his wife and new baby, a niece I'd never meet. But it was Kennedy's posts that gutted me. Dozens of them over 2 years, positioning herself as the victim of her narcissistic sister who abandoned the family. My sister chose money over love, one post read with hundreds of supportive comments. She was always competitive and couldn't handle that I was the pretty one. Another post showed a screenshot of my tech magazine interview with the caption, "When your sister gets famous but forgot where she came from." The distortion of reality was breathtaking. She'd rewritten history, made herself the abandoned one, the one who tried to love a cold, ambitious sister who cared only about success. I declined her friend request. But that night I couldn't sleep. The injustice of it, that she could destroy my education, my family relationships, my support system, and then claim victimhood when I survived anyway. Destiny found me in the office at 4 a.m. crying over my keyboard. By year 4, Spectrum Sync was valued at $127 million. We'd been acquired by a tech giant for a deal that made headlines, made me wealthy beyond imagination, and made me feel emptier than I'd expected. The money didn't heal anything. The success didn't fill the hole where my family used to be. On the day the acquisition closed, I sat alone in my penthouse apartment, thinking about Christmas dinner 4 years ago, wondering if things could have been different. My lawyer called. "Josie, you need to see this." He sent a link. My parents had filed a lawsuit claiming they were entitled to a portion of my acquisition money because they'd invested in my education, and their withdrawal of support had motivated my success. The audacity made me laugh until I cried. Kennedy was listed as a co-plaintiff, claiming emotional damages for being publicly humiliated by her sister's success. The case was frivolous, my lawyer assured me. It would be dismissed. But it required a response, which meant depositions, which meant seeing them for the first time in 4 years. I almost hired a team to handle it without me. Almost. But something in me needed to face them, needed them to see what their worthless dropout daughter had become. The deposition was scheduled for a Friday in March. I walked into that conference room in a custom suit that cost more than their monthly mortgage payment, accompanied by lawyers whose hourly rate exceeded Kennedy's annual living expenses. And there they were, Mama, Daddy, Martin, Kennedy. Older, smaller, somehow less significant than they'd been in my memory. Kennedy looked at me with open hatred. Mama cried. Daddy's jaw clenched. Martin wouldn't meet my eyes. "Let the record show," my lawyer began, "that Ms. Josie Parker is here to answer questions regarding the frivolous lawsuit filed by her biological family." The deposition lasted 6 hours. They claimed they'd supported my dreams, that the withdrawal was tough love meant to build character, that they'd always believed in me. My lawyer played recordings. I'd kept everything, every voicemail, every threatening message. Mama's voice, sharp and cold, "You're dead to us until you apologize." Daddy's, "You chose your pride over your family." Kennedy's, "I hope you fail. I hope you end up homeless and realize what you lost." The room fell silent after the last recording played. "Any further questions?" my lawyer asked. They had none. The lawsuit was withdrawn before we left the building. I should have felt victorious. I felt destroyed. Outside, Martin caught my arm. "Josie, wait. Please." I turned, seeing my brother clearly for the first time in years. He looked exhausted, defeated. "I'm sorry. I should have defended you. I should have stood up to them. I was a coward and I've regretted it every single day." Tears streamed down his face. "Kennedy's getting worse. She's angry all the time, bitter. Mama and Daddy's marriage is falling apart. I have a daughter now and I don't want her growing up in that toxicity. I don't want her to learn that love is conditional, that family means tearing each other down." "Then leave," I said simply. "Like I did. Choose different." He nodded slowly, understanding what I couldn't say, that forgiveness wasn't mine to give yet, that some bridges once burned take lifetimes to rebuild. I drove away from that courthouse knowing I'd never see them again. Not the way they were, anyway. Maybe someday Martin would find his courage. Maybe someday Mama and Daddy would realize what they'd sacrificed on the altar of Kennedy's ego. Maybe Kennedy would grow up, get help, become someone capable of loving without competing. But those maybes weren't my responsibility anymore. I'd built a life, a company, a future from the ashes of their rejection. The success hadn't healed me, but the knowledge that I'd survived, that I'd refused to apologize for being excellent, that I'd chosen myself when no one else would, that was its own kind of peace. Some families are born. Some are chosen. Mine would have to be chosen now. And I was finally okay with that. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more real stories about overcoming toxic family dynamics and finding your own path. The emptiness of victory tastes like expensive champagne in a quiet apartment, like achievement without witnesses who truly knew where you started, like proving everyone wrong and wishing you'd been right about them all along.